Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1156B, and today's date is December 19th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Elite Just Sent a Message to Russia. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, today, as we know, December 19th, the Electoral College is voting. And at the last count right now, it looks like Donald Trump has about 268 electoral votes, and it looks like Hillary Clinton has about 160. So at this point, we can say that Donald Trump is now president-elect of the United States. So does this mean that everything's all said and done? The elite just give up, they walk away, we have no problems? No. They're not going to stop. They're moving on to their next phase. And we've kind of seen some of it today. Remember what their goals are. And that's all you have to do. Remember what they're trying to accomplish here. And what they're trying to accomplish is to stop Donald Trump from entering the White House, to keep control of the system. They spent many, many years and lots of money on trying to create this atmosphere that they are the gods and everyone else is serfs. They spent billions of dollars to make sure that the law applies to the serfs and not to them. They've been pushing the idea that rights are really privileges, and they want to stay in power. And they've been pushing a war for quite a while now. Remember, if they don't get their way, they resort to war. So what we're seeing at this point is they'll be moving on to the next phase. But what's very interesting about all this, we had some faithless electors. And it wasn't the way you thought it was going to be, because everyone thought, everyone was going to, not vote for Trump and go against that and go to Hillary Clinton. But what we're seeing is these faithless electors are saying, something, I'm not voting for Hillary, and voting for maybe Bernie Sanders. So actually what has happened, it has gone the opposite way. So right now, we can see that the elite, they are pushing their agenda. Their agenda is to provoke countries. Their agenda is to get us into war. Their agenda is to keep Trump from entering the White House. And we already see in the South China Sea with China, where the U.S. had this drone that was about 50 nautical miles off the coast of Subic Bay, the Philippines. And the United States made a really big deal. How dare you take our drone? This is an act of war, more or less. And they're making a really big deal. And China said, listen, we'll return it to you, but we have a couple demands, a couple conditions. And these are the conditions that they're looking for. They want the United States to scale down its surveillance in the South China Sea when it hands back the U.S. underwater drone. They would also seek an expansion in the code for unplanned military encounters in the disputed waters to cover drones like the one seized by China. Because right now, they have this with ships, but they don't have this unplanned military encounter with drones. So they want an additional code for this. And everyone's saying, well, how dare China take our unidentified drone out of the water? Well, think about it. If there was an unidentified drone in the Gulf of Mexico, about 50 nautical miles off the coast of Florida, what would the U.S. do at this point? They would swoop in and they would take it because it's unidentified. They don't know what it's doing. And they would hold it. And of course, if Russia or China said, how dare you take one of our drones? It's there to check the salinity of water. The United States would say, no, this is a spy drone. What is it doing here? How come we weren't notified? Well, this is what's happening out in the South China Sea. And China is saying that, well, we don't know exactly what this drone was actually doing. because this drone, well, maybe it can pick up special sonar signals from the Chinese submarines that are operating in the area. Maybe it was used to track the submarines and to detect where they're located. Well, they didn't give China a heads up. They were placing a drone in their area. They knew it was going to cause tension, and you can see they kind of did it on purpose. Just like when they sailed the ships around the Spratly Islands, saying they have the right of way, even though the United States government central bankers, they never signed or ratified the right of way of ships at all. We see out in Ukraine, things are starting to escalate there. Ukraine is reporting that pro-Russian separatist militants, they have attempted to encircle Ukrainian army positions, and they're reporting that Russia, this could be their strategy to achieve a change in the government. And you can see a lot of countries are starting to use this, that Russia is hacking elections to alter who is in power. Russia is surrounding their armed forces to change government in Ukraine. They were responsible for the Brexit. Merkel saying that, yes, Russia is trying to alter the results of the elections that will be coming up this fall. This is why they want all fake news stopped. This is why they're going to fine anyone that is publishing fake news. So you can see right now, all these leaders who are in control right now, they don't want to give up their authority. And they're creating this atmosphere that it's not them, it's Russia. It's not that the people don't want them, it's Russia convincing them that they shouldn't be in power. No, the people are saying that we've had enough of you. We're done. We want to change. We see out in Iraq, the U.S. military, well, they're never leaving. And right now, we see that there's about 10,000 American soldiers in Iraq right now. This is coming from a senior Iraqi official. And that's not even including all the temporary soldiers that are there. Because you have to remember, under the agreement with the Iraqi government, the United States can have about 4,500 permanent troops. The rest are temporary. And right now, the Iraqi government is saying the count is at 10,000. When I add everything up, it looks like it's closer to 15,000. And right now, Ashton Carter is out there saying that even when the Islamic State is defeated in Iraq, the U.S. is not leaving. He said the U.S. and its international partners will need to remain in Iraq even after the Islamic State is defeated. And the U.S. troops will remain in Iraq under the pretext they are reforming the Iraqi armed forces and local police. While the Iraqis are reporting, when we get the U.S. soldiers out of our way, the battle against the Islamic State goes much smoother than when the U.S. is involved. And we've seen this before. Now, the UN Security Council, they met today on a resolution on sending advisors and observers to Aleppo. Now, Russia was saying that they don't believe this should be done at this point. It's too dangerous. And there was a resolution which was drafted by France and criticized by Russia. Well, they got approval, and it looks like right now there was a closed-door meeting between Moscow and Paris, and they talked about it, and they agreed, okay, let the UN come in and observe what is going on there. And of course, we understand why the coalition forces want this, because they want their assets in this area protected. We see that Russia right now, their freighter is going through the Bosphorus, and it looks like it is carrying a lot of military equipment. It is heading to the Syrian port of Tartus. And we see right now they are building up their armed forces. And Syria right now is calling upon tens of thousands of reserve soldiers. This is huge right now, and it looks like what they're trying to do is they want these reserve soldiers to move into Aleppo to keep control of the entire area while their elite forces and their army moves into Palmyra and other areas to clean out the Islamic State. And we can see right now that Syria and Russia, they are pushing the terrorist groups like the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Al-Sham, the moderate rebels, it's all one and the same, completely out of the country. Now, the U.S. government central bankers, well, they don't like this. And this is a problem because they can't reach their goal. Their goal is to remove Assad, take over Syria, then go into Iran. And they realize that things are rapidly falling apart. And again, I said when they're backed into a corner, they're going to start doing some crazy things. I mean, already we see a truck plowed into a crowd of busy Christmas market in western Berlin, leaving at least 9 dead and about 50 people injured. And of course, they're saying this is a truck attack, and they're saying that it is an act of terrorism. And we can see right now that with that going on, with the Electoral College vote going on, with the UN Security Council voting on to bring in observers into Aleppo, all this happening at the same time, all of a sudden, out in Turkey, we had the Russian ambassador shot to death. Russian ambassador Andrei Karlov, he was shot, and the gunman shouted out about Aleppo, about how Russia was in there killing people in Aleppo. And we see right now that this individual who shot the Russian ambassador, he wasn't a security officer. He wasn't on the detail. He's a police officer that was off duty. And we see right now that Erdogan, he has called the Russian president to share information about the assassination. And what's very strange about this whole thing was caught on tape. And you can see this on the X22Report.com site. It looks like they're starting to take down the videos. But what we're seeing is that this individual, he shot the ambassador and then had plenty of time to scream out, to talk, without any type of Secret Service, security forces, anyone coming in to stop him. Eventually, he was shot and killed. And we see that Putin is out there. He's called the assassination of the Russian ambassador a clear provocation aimed at derailing the Syrian peace negotiations. And when we look at this, we can see that this is a message to Russia from the elite. And the message is, we can get to your people. We can kill them. Stop what you're doing. Stop with Syria. They're also trying to destroy the relationship with Turkey and Russia, because we can see Turkey is moving closer and closer to Russia. Now, did Turkey actually do this? Is this a false flag on the Turkish government? Was it done by Erdogan? We don't know right now. But most likely, this is done by CIA, Mossad, and other ops that are losing control of Syria right now. And we see right now that Turkey, well, they've made economic deals with Russia, and they signed the Turkish Stream pipeline. So to me right now, it looks like as Turkey moves closer and closer to Russia, the United States, the agencies within the United States government, central bankers, they are putting a lot of pressure to try to split Turkey and Russia apart, send a message to Russia, and maybe even start World War III. Now, this individual who was allowed in to the art gallery where this ambassador was giving a speech. Well, the man had the suit, he had the Russian flag pin, and he was allowed to stand close behind Andrei Karlov. Now, the question is, how did he get access to all of this? This had to be an inside job. It had to be professional. He had to have the paperwork. He had to have the access to get in there to pull this off. You just don't walk in and they just give you clearance. This was completely set up by agencies. He wasn't a lone wolf. He didn't get all the documentation to pull this off. He had help with this. And we see right now the United States is warning all citizens to avoid the Turkish embassy right now. And the warning saying that U.S. citizens to avoid the area near the embassy compound due to an ongoing security incident. Now, we know what the United States government central bankers want. We know that they're pushing for war. They're hoping that Russia responds. Because we can see already they tried to use the Russian cyber attacking on the election system, on the DNC, to provoke Russia. Russia did nothing. They tried to control Russia in Syria. That didn't work. And now they just killed their ambassador. I mean, this can't be any more clear on what they're trying to do here. They are pushing war. And it doesn't look like they're going to stop. It looks like they're setting the stage for war. Now, Putin is out there. He's saying that the assassination on Russia's ambassador, this will not disrupt the normalization of Russian-Turkish relations and the failure of the peace process in Syria. Putin said he had discussed the issue with Turkish counterpart Erdogan and added that Russia will send a group of investigators to Turkey, which was agreed to on the phone call. And the main question here is, what is the CIA, what is the agencies of the United States government, the central bankers, the elite, what are they up to? Because this is really getting ugly at this point. When an ambassador gets murdered, it shows that the country or organization that's responsible, well, they're getting desperate. And we know the CIA most likely was involved. We know that Mossad most likely was involved. We know the UK, maybe MI5, MI6, was also involved. And this was no way a lone wolf, Al-Qaeda type of an attack. This was planned out and ready to go to start something. And we know that the CIA, they've done this before in other countries. And we know they're famous for starting wars. So what are we going to see from this point on? Well, the United States government central bankers, they're backed into a corner. And I've said this before, when they're backed into a corner like this, they become desperate. They have to take the next level. And think about what just happened here in the United States. Donald Trump right now, well, it looks like he got the 270 electoral votes. So he is the president-elect at this point. So phase one, with the riots and the protests around the country, it didn't work. Phase two, Jill Stein doing the recount, that didn't work. The Russian hacking and trying to call the alternative media fake news, Russian propaganda outlets, well, that didn't change the mind of the Electoral College. So now we have January 6th coming up. So we don't know what they're going to do at this point, but we know they have something planned. And if that doesn't go through, they have another plan. While all of this is happening, they are trying to push a war as fast as they possibly can. And we can expect more of this type of false flag events. Now, what I'm seeing is that they're going to become even more desperate. Because each phase where Trump gets through, they're going to be looking at this and saying, okay, we need to up this to the next level. And we have to understand something. Obama resubmitted the UN Arms Trade Treaty. Why would he do that at this point with 30-something days left in office? It makes no sense because it's just going to sit there. They're not even going to look at it unless there's an event. So to me, it seems like all of this is being orchestrated, everything's being planned, and they're getting ready to push the next big event because each one is trying to provoke and to push Russia, trying to push China into war. And it looks like this is exactly what they're trying to do and where we're headed. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.